Hello, Emmanuel Shachaf.
Hello, hello.
Identity, the Quest for Israel, Better Future. We are looking at your book. We are looking at approximately the Arabic version is about to be published.
About to be launched, yes. It should be in a couple of weeks from now.
Please give us a title to the situation that you're reflecting here in the Middle East.
Waiting for the blow.
Wow.
Yes. I think the situation hasn't been as critical as it is now for quite a long time. It doesn't seem like that because our politicians are in denial to a large degree, except for those who are directly dealing with the situation in the West Bank. But the West Bank is about to blow. The Palestinian Authority is breaking up, or partially breaking up.
Signs of collapse?
There are initial signs that it's losing its authority over certain areas in the northern part of the West Bank.
When you're saying losing its authority, you mean that they are willingly electing, choosing to lose it, or basically they're...
The situation is stripping the authority from its authority. The local policemen and security men don't want to engage because it's too dangerous, and so in the north, in the Jenin area, the Israeli army is very active, and also in Shechem, in Nablus, there is considerable danger now, and it may be necessary for the Israeli army to interfere there, which will of course cause a big reaction among the civilian population. So this is a situation which is ongoing, and it doesn't look good, and we don't have a plan. Okay, we're doing stopgap measures to prevent terrorism. But not much more.
Gadi Eisenkot, the former chief general of the Israeli army, said he has a plan. Well, it was a two-state solution.
Yes, two-state. Well, this is the regular, the lip service. Okay, the part of the denial is to refer to the two-state solution as the ultimate solution to everything, and but nobody says how to get there. Okay, and for all to know. The two-state solution is not something actionable, at least not now, and probably not in the foreseeable future. So as long as we don't do anything other than calling on the two-state solution, we're basically calling for the status quo to continue, which is dangerous.
And the one-state solution, people like Gadi Eisenkot and Ami Ayalon, the former head of the General Security Organization in Israel, they are saying it's going to bring a total collapse.
Yes. Unfortunately, the supporters of the two-state solution always look, and I don't know whether they do it to in a self-serving way or they really believe in it. They say that if it's not the two-state solution, it'll be the end of the Zionist state, it'll be the end of a nation state, it'll be the end. Okay, it's always described as a disaster, which of course it isn't. Okay?
Why?
Because it isn't. There are plenty of alternatives how to deal with the situation. We're not the only multi-ethnic country that has found a federation as a solution. We're going to have to get used to changes. Okay, the fact that we don't like all the changes, okay, but it doesn't mean they cannot be implemented to the benefit of everybody. Okay, the fact that we're doing that we may have to change the definition of the state, or we have to do things that we are not thinking of right now because we dug ourselves the hole and keep digging, doesn't mean that cannot be changed. We just need to talk about it, and that's not happening right now.
And you're saying that it wouldn't be the end of the Jewish state, the end of the Zionism. You're saying that basically when we are going to, the Israeli country is going to be losing its name or losing its sole sovereignty about managing the key to the door of the states, and Arab people will have the same key, the same rights. People are feeling afraid about it.
People are afraid, and it's understandable. They have been fed enough information to make them fearful for many, many years, and somebody has to change that. Okay, the situation is not nearly half as bad as people are afraid that it is. Many nations have found ways of dealing with multi-ethnic situations and with the tensions which are between different populations. There's a lot of federations we can copy from, and a lot of federations where we can say that we won't do. Just we have to start going to do something about it.
Like Brazil, Germany, India, United States.
There's about 30 countries in the world that run federations, and they're not all of them Switzerland. So we don't have to be too concerned that this is not an impossible mission. It's quite a possible mission.
And for the last 70 years, there is also kind of federation.
Well, we've been living with a 20% Muslim minority, which is the biggest Muslim minority of any Western country, if we call ourselves a Western country, and it's been quite well. It's been going quite well. It's not that there aren't any problems and not that there weren't any incidents, but all things considered, this is not a bad example.
So you're saying basically that let's look about what is happening in the microcosmos of Tel Aviv and Jaffa, the cooperation in between the people, the cultural hecticness, people that have great relationships. Let's try to implement that also in between Netanya and Tulkarim, for instance.
Yes, we have to find our way of getting these two populations, the Palestinians and the Jews, Israelis, to live together in joint living arrangements to this or that extent, that in a peaceful way and in a way where the state of Israel can continue and prosper.
And when you're saying that we're waiting for the blow, the Americans are saying, hey guys, Israeli army, please behave differently.
The regulations regarding the opening of fire for the soldiers, the U.S. intervened because of what happened to the Palestinian journalist Nasrin Abu Akleh. The fact that she was shot by an Israeli sniper, apparently. Accidentally. So that's the claim. But the army doesn't usually listen to things like that, and of course our response has been the regular response, a tough armed response. Nobody tells us what to do, but sometimes we do listen, like regarding other things that the civil administration tried to impose in the West Bank on visitors to the West Bank. Some of the restrictions they tried to impose were over the top, and the Americans and also the Europeans interfered and told us to dial them back, and we dialed them back. Okay, so sometimes we do listen, and it's important that we do listen, because sometimes we do go over the top, like we did with, I think we went over the top by creating a unit now that will use aerial drones to in attack missions in the West Bank. Okay?
Without pilots.
Drones, UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, to do operations, violent operations in the West Bank. Okay. It's worrisome, because usually what happens in the West Bank will eventually also comes into Israel itself, and we don't want to have UAVs shooting at people in al-Fahim or in cities inside Israel, in Arab cities or mixed cities inside Israel. But when there's a conflict going all the time and it's not being dealt with, like we're not dealing with it, we have to be afraid of a deterioration of this sort.
You're talking about waiting for the blow. Let's talk about waiting for the upside. Any good news for this?
Finally, the agreement with Lebanon, which will enable both countries, Israel and Lebanon, to exploit the natural gas, is about to be closed with the help of the Americans. Unless Hezbollah makes a last-ditch effort to wean out political advantages in Lebanon, this should be closed pretty soon, and then both countries will be able to exploit the gas.
So when there's a lot of money on the plate, Israel and Hezbollah indirectly they can
find ways to communicate. Yes.
Emmanuel Shachaf, the Quest for Israel, a Better Future. I want to thank you so much. People that want to be part of the community, they can look for you on
Facebook, on my page Emmanuel Shachaf, Identity, the Quest for Israel's Future, and the Federation Movement.
Emmanuel Shachaf, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.